Okay, welcome back to the next part of the video. Now, the last video was actually recorded on February 10th, 2013, and today is April 5th, 2013, so it's been almost 2 months since I recorded the last video. Taken a bit of a break from Orbiter for quite a few reasons, but we're back at it here, and in the last video, if you recall, we did the atmospheric braking at Earth, and we used up almost all of our APU. In fact, we almost ran out. And that's because in order to do the atmospheric braking, the way I was doing it at least, we needed to have surface controls turned on, which requires the APU. And due to this configuration that I have with this particular XR2, we burn through the APU as fast as possible. So you only have something like 25 or 30 minutes of APU total. So that's something I'll have to keep in mind if I ever use this configuration again, that APU is at a very high premium. But otherwise, we are ready to rendezvous with the ISS, so we can go ahead and begin thinking about what we have to do to set that up. Now, when we got back to Earth, the ISS was a little bit behind us, and that's going to work out just fine because we are, at this point in our orbit, we're higher, so we need the ISS to catch up to us, which it will very quickly because we are at this higher orbit over here, so our orbital period is 6,500 seconds, whereas the ISS is only 5,500 seconds. So it's going to catch up very quickly. So let's not tarry. Let's just go ahead and turn maneuver mode on. And we'll go through the variables. And in order to set up the rendezvous with the ISS using TransX, we need to have some amount of velocity in some direction or another. So I'm just going to start by just putting in a little bit of hyper, or rather a little bit of prograde. But all I really want at this point is the date. So I'm going to come around here to Ultra, and I'm just going to swing this around and give me an idea of what it's going to take to rendezvous in terms of how many orbits I'll need if I don't want to do a lot of adjustments to my current orbit. In other words, I don't necessarily want to come around to this side and lower my apoapsis, although I may end up doing that, we'll see. But for now, I'm just seeing how many orbits I would have to go around. Okay, that's 2. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now we're getting reasonably close. Okay, so 10 orbits, that's not too bad. Let's see if we can make this work over here where you see all these dancing around. So we'll come over here to prograde again, and we'll just start putting in some velocity to try to get these projections to settle down a bit. Let's go the other way with it. Okay, so that's already at 190 delta V. It would seem to me that we could beat that. But fuel isn't exactly a concern. So I've got to decide if I want to use fuel or time. Let's just see what this cost is going to be. Remember, this is in 10 orbits. Let's go back a little bit. You know what, I just don't like the way that's working out, so let me reset and reset the date, and what we're going to do is we're just going to come around here to our low point, and we're going to bring the other side down so there's not such a big difference in our orbital period. That will make setting this up a little bit easier, I believe. I just don't want to sit here and try to mess around with transx for 20 minutes, so let's turn maneuver mode off, and let's come around to the low point. And in the meantime, the ISS is going to overtake us, but I don't think there's any avoiding that, so let's just go forward. And there it is, it's overtaken us. What we could actually do too would be to go around a few orbits while we still have this large difference and let the ISS get way ahead of us so that it starts catching back up to us on the other way around. That's probably actually the better thing to do. You see how it's getting farther ahead? And because there's such a large difference in our orbital period, so I'll let it get pretty far ahead of me. Now it's all the way across. And then once it's almost caught up, so on this next orbit, yeah, that makes sense. Alright, there we go. So now I will bring down the other side, and you can see the ISS is almost caught up with me. I would like it to be a little closer, but I don't want to run the risk of having it overshoot me or having it overtake me again.
Translation, rotation.
So let's get rotated. Now that we're in the retrograde position, I'll use the autopilot to keep me in position. And I'm going to bring down the orbit, but not all the way. I'm going to bring down the other side, that is. Because that's still a pretty significant difference. So if I bring it down all the way, it would require quite a few orbits for it to catch up to me. So I'm just going to bring it down a bit. Alright, let's start there. Now let's see what TransX has to say as far as setting up a rendezvous. It shouldn't be too difficult now that our orbits are pretty closely matched. So we turn maneuver mode back on, we do the same thing here. Just one moment. Took a sip of water there and got a little bit of water caught in my throat. It's kind of hurting or irritating me a little bit. Alright, let's reset the date. Let's now go forward. Wait a minute, let's reset this. I went too far forward. So over here on this side, we should be... My altitude's currently 413. So we should be able to rendezvous down on this side. We're definitely going to have to go around a few orbits because the ISS needs to catch up. So that's only 6.5 delta V so far. So it looks like we can get it pretty quickly. I believe that was just one orbit. For a cost of 10 delta V, we can... That's definitely doable. Okay. So right there at that point, it's kind of starting to fall apart. So let's put in a little bit of outward. Actually, let me check the date. Now let's try outward. Yeah, we'll be able to get it at this point. So that's all the way down to 162 meters. Okay. And a little bit of fine-tuning with prograde. Actually, it looks like that's about as good as it's going to get. Okay, well that's doable. 124 meters away from the ISS, that's obviously nothing. Okay, so let's go to VW to view the target. Now what we'll do, since we're not going to do this burn for 5,000 seconds, we'll come around to the point where we're just about ready to do the burn when we're within 10 minutes or 600 seconds. And then we're going to do an update on Transx, because what will happen most likely is by the time we go around that long of a period, 5,000 seconds is quite a long time, then this closest approach is no longer going to be 124 meters. It's going to be maybe 2 kilometers or 7 kilometers. It's hard to know how far off it's going to be, but it won't be as low as it is now. So let's go forward. And I'm just going to keep it at 100x for now. I've learned my lesson about getting impatient with the time warp. So now we're down to less than 1,000 seconds, and here at about 10 minutes or 600 seconds, right about there. See, now if we come over here and go to view maneuver and do an update, Actually, it held very well. That's usually not the case. Usually it will drift quite a bit, or at least a little bit, at least a kilometer or so. So right when you get up to the point where you're just about ready to do the burn, within 10 minutes, you want to do an update and check everything out. But what we can also do now that we're closer to the point of doing the burn, I got a notification there, I'm just turning that off, is we can come back to our variables and see if we can do any last minute adjustments to get things in closer. And no, we're at the best point we're going to be at. Let me just phrase it that way. Okay, so back over to view target.
Translation. Rotation.
And let's get our green X lined up. So this is going to be a 38 meter per second burn. Before we get going on that, let's get our data set up, and that might actually already be correct. No, this is for Brighton Beach probably. Okay, so we need 131.30. For the long range, and 137.40 for the docking collar. And we'll bring up the docking MFD now, and we can also switch over to the dock HUD.
Translation. Rotation.
I'm just going to warp time forward to get over to the point where I need to begin the burn, which is here in just 5 minutes. Okay, we're getting close to that point, so let's come back to real time and get ourselves lined up. Okay, burning in 25 seconds, but I'll go ahead and 10x, get to that point quicker. And we're not going to use main engine, we're not going to use the full power of the main engine, we're just going to use a few clicks because 38 meters per second goes by pretty quick.
Translation.
Translate the last bit. Okay, turn maneuver mode off. And according to TransX now, it's updating in real time now that that's off. Our closest approach is going to be 687 meters. What I can do
Rotation. Translation.
is, with translation, I can just bump it using, the various 6, 9, 1, 3, and all those to just get that a little closer. And we'll just go with that. Now, according to Transx, we're going to rendezvous at this point, which I guess is... It's not very far away. Must be one orbit around. So we'll move forward, get closer to this time. And our docking information is now online. Okay, I don't need to really pay too much attention to Transx anymore. I've got the information here in the MFD and on the HUD.
Rotation.
Now our encounter velocity is going to be 109 meters per second. So here in a moment, I'll bring up burn time calculator and figure out when I need to begin the braking burn. And let's just do that now. We're going to be using the retro engines. So we'll switch to retro, but I've got to open the doors, which is going to require the APU to be on. So we'll do that very quickly.
APU offline.
And immediately turn the APU back off because we don't have any APU to spare. Okay, now, again, we're just going to put 110 meters in because 109.9 is basically 110. So we need 1 kilometer, or 1.2 kilometers, let's call it, full power with the retro engines in order to slow ourselves down in time to not crash into the ISS. And we're 146 kilometers out, so we need to fast forward time.
Translation. Rotation.
And we'll do the rest of this at 10x. And maybe we'll go to 100 for a minute, get a bit closer. Okay, again, let's check everything out. Transx says our encounter velocity is 110, current velocity is basically 110, and we're 6 kilometers out.
Translation.
Let's do a little bit of translating here.
$5,000. Rotation. 3,000.
And we're going to start our braking here very shortly.
2,000.
It started a little bit early.
1,908 Translation.
Okay. Just get everything basically zeroed out.
300.
Alright, that's good enough. Now, we do not need translects anymore. We don't need burn time calculator. Let's bring up the docking MFD. Switch over to nav 2. Copy the information to the HUD, and as luck would have it, we're right in front of the docking corridor. So we'll go ahead and dock in this video also. I'm not going to break that part up into two separate videos because this was a fairly quick rendezvous.
Rotation. Translation. Rotation. Translation. Rotation.
Now I just need to find that red X. Looks like I should have rotated the other way. Okay, we've got that part squared away. Now I'm going to do what I did before, which is to bring up remote vessel control, select the ISS, and I'm going to tell it to stop rotating. Again, I believe it's actually more realistic to do that. So now I don't have to have so much concern about the ISS itself, you know, rotating as it goes around.
200. Translation. Rotation.
And if need be, we can, you know, hit kill rotate again here in a little bit.
Translation.
For now, I'm going to slow down my... I think I might actually be behind the docking collar. Yeah, I passed under the ISS, so I need to get it
100.
in front of me again.
Rotation. Translation.
Now I'll zero out the velocity. translate up. There we go. That makes more sense.
Rotation.
Okay, nose cone's already open because I opened it actually all the way back on February 10th.
Translation.
Okay, now we'll move forward a little bit. About a half meter per second. And we'll tell the ISS to stop rotating one more time. I'm not perceiving any rotation at the moment, but we'll go ahead and ask it to stop rotating here just
100.
to make sure.
Rotation. Translation.
Okay, now we're doing the control thrust. These are all finer movements now. And we'll move forward a little quicker.
$75.
And I think we're pretty well lined up. So now we just have to close the distance.
Rotation. Translation.
Rotation was just a little off.
$50.
And that's pretty much perfect right there. And as we get closer, we'll slow down a little bit because it's almost 3/4 of a meter
40.
per second.
$30.
We're on track. It's looking good.
20.
And once we get docked with the ISS, we will be able to resupply, get the APU filled back up. We're definitely going to need a little bit more for the landing.
15.
Yeah, it's so nice using that remote vessel control to kill the rotation. Of course, you could just press F3 to get inside the ISS, but I like doing it this way better.
10. 9. 8. 7. 6.
So we can go ahead and close that out now.
5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Contact.
Okay.
18 Houston, we show capture and hard dock. Congratulations.
Alright, let's turn on external cooling.
Using external O2.
Get our oxygen supply from
External
the
cooling
ISS.
online.
So we're down to 1 day, 19 hours remaining on the locks. Again, this particular configuration of the XR2 has a maximum locks capacity of 7 days. So we used up quite a bit. Well, right here, about 75% of our locks coming from the moon back to the Earth. And we won't need any more locks for landing, because when we land, it's only going to take us, a matter of an hour or so. So we definitely don't need any more locks. But we'll open the fuel hatch and
Refueling systems online.
resupply our APU. And I'll just 10x to get through that quickly. Obviously, we don't need any main fuel or RCS for the landing. Back to real time.
APU fuel tanks full. Refueling systems offline.
In fact, we've got more than enough fuel. We could actually dump all of our main fuel, and we would have enough RCS to get ourselves to be able to deorbit, and then we would be able to land just with fuel from the RCS. So at this point in the journey, we've been gone for 16 days, 21 hours. We've gone from KSC up to the ISS, out to the moon, back to the ISS, and the last part of this mission is going to be to undock here from the ISS and then land back at KSC, and that will complete the whole round trip that I set out to do when I began this video series. So I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that for this video. That's going to be, docking here at the ISS. That'll be a good stopping point. And when we come back, again, we're going to undock and land at KSC. I'm using a new recording software. This is called Open Broadcaster. I've been using XSplit up all this time, all of last year and all the videos that I've done this year. So I'm really hoping I don't run into any problems with this Open Broadcaster software. I guess we'll find out. This is the first video that I've recorded with it. If you like this video, go ahead and leave me a comment down below, and I will see you next time. And hopefully it won't take me 2 months to record the next part.